Discover Bangladesh, the dirtiest and poorest country in the world. This nation is located in South Asia. This country has a rich history, as it lived under British colonial rule for a long period and embraces both Hindustani and Buddhist traditions. In addition, Islamic culture also plays an important role in Bangladeshi society. Although Bangladesh has a considerable area of approximately 148,000 square kilometers, the country faces a major challenge. According to the census conducted in 2020, the official population of this country is 169 million people, i.e., the population density is extremely high. This makes Bangladesh a complex country with several problems related to overpopulation and pressure on available resources. As in India, in this country we can say that there is a high concentration of people and a high poverty rate. If you want to experience the ambience of Bangladesh, the country is noted for its tropical beaches and lush forests. However, other challenges await visitors, as Bangladesh is known for its abundance of flies. Therefore, those planning a trip there should include insect repellent in their luggage. Dhaka is the capital of Bangladesh and also the most developed urban area in terms of quality of life. It is also the most populous city, with a population of about 23 million. Bangladesh is a country prone to earthquakes and floods, so don't be surprised if you encounter an earthquake or other natural phenomena while you are there. The thought of facing a flood-like catastrophe in a country where dozens of people are affected by such events can be quite daunting. Bangladesh emerged after the dissolution of the Hindu empires in the past. Although they adopted a more Islamic-oriented culture from the 12th century onwards, they never managed to separate themselves completely from nearby India. In fact, during the 1900s, the geography of Bangladesh became a place where the Muslim population was concentrated in the east and the Hindu population in the west until 1971. This division persisted, and the country faced a challenge in terms of governance. Despite attempts at reunification and reconstruction over the past 30 years, Bangladesh has been affected by floods and earthquakes that have made recovery difficult. One of the biggest problems contributing to the country's backwardness is undoubtedly overpopulation. Currently, the official language of Bangladesh is Bengali, and the number of fluent English speakers on the streets and avenues is quite limited. Some speak English with their own accent, which can make understanding difficult. In addition, the Bangladeshi government conducts its official correspondence and business dealings in English rather than its native language. Now that we have given an overview of Bangladesh, we can look at examples of life in the country. First, it is important to note that Bangladesh is one of the economically poorest nations in the world. Most people earn less than $1 a day, and it is clear from observing them that many do their work in a rudimentary way. The minimum wage in the country is around $95, so the average income in the country is extremely low. This makes Bangladesh one of the cheapest places for labor on a global scale. It is understandable, then, that large corporations and international companies are attracted to this opportunity, as many globally recognized brands always consider setting up factories in nations with lower taxes and reduced labor costs to manufacture their products. Many large companies have already adopted this strategy, and numerous prestigious brands have production facilities in the country. They ship the manufactured products to their stores around the world and sell at prices significantly below those of US workers. In Bangladesh, for example, a company can employ 10 to 15 workers for the same cost. On the other hand, when walking through the streets of the capital, Dhaka, it is common to see people of all sexes carrying objects on their heads. Often, the lack of access to vehicles forces people to carry heavy loads this way. In addition, the streets are littered with tangled cables that connect to poles and are probably intended for telephone and internet services. This scene alone portrays an image that seems to go back at least half a century and highlights the deficiency of the country's infrastructure. The fluidity of traffic on Bangladesh's roads evokes scenes reminiscent of the hectic streets of Vietnam and India, with vehicles constantly on the move. A careless walk can greatly increase the risk of being hit by a motorcycle or car, as there are no overpasses or underpasses available to pedestrians, and they face many dangers and challenges, crossing back and forth. In many squares, traffic flows in multiple directions without traffic lights to regulate the flow, depending on police guidance for control. If you are a person who values quiet and does not tolerate constant noise, Bangladesh can be extremely unsettling, as life there is drastically different from ordinary daily life. Even when driving on a relatively quiet road, the incessant honking can be annoying and stress-inducing. Public transportation in the countryside usually consists of old buses in their 20s or 30s. The seats on these buses are often uncomfortable, and public transportation is usually always crowded. For urban transport, there are bicycles that act as cabs, but unfortunately, these bicycles are only powered by human effort and have no engine. The saddest part is that most cyclists are thin men who often carry extra passengers, which can be tiring and uncomfortable. There are an estimated 30 million of these bicycles in the country, and many people make their living as bicycle cab drivers. As a result, squares often see disputes between cyclists or heated arguments between street vendors. The overcrowding, the almost constant chaos on street corners, and the demanding lifestyle make people easily irritated. As you explore the cities and markets of Bangladesh, you may notice that there are many street stalls on almost every street corner. Although the sale of food products is commonplace, one cause for concern is that these stalls often seem to lack proper hygiene. Both the stalls and the places where they operate often look unhygienic, and as a result, some vendors display inadequate personal hygiene. As a traveler, you may be hesitant to consume food or drink in Bangladesh for fear of potential health problems. Another thing is that education in this country is practically non-existent, with only 3 out of 10 people being able to read and write. This low level of education contributes to an extremely limited overall cultural level. In addition, the cities suffer from high levels of pollution, and the presence of garbage is widespread throughout the country. Another aspect that can disturb your peace of mind while traveling in Bangladesh is the excessive attention people direct at you while you are on the road. Regardless of your gender, you may feel that you are constantly being watched in an invasive manner. This is not limited to a sexual context, but may convey the message that they are thinking about how to benefit from you, either financially or in other ways. Even if some people are just curious to see a tourist, it is wise to maintain a certain amount of caution, even with supposedly trustworthy tour guides. In a country where many people work as if they were slaves for only $1 a day, you should be aware that some people will go to great lengths to take financial advantage of you, either directly or indirectly. Therefore, it is essential that you exercise caution in your interactions and transactions. If they detect that you are a tourist, be prepared to be charged at least 3 or 4 times more for anything as soon as you are identified as a tourist. If you go as a guide, it is very likely that people will try to take advantage of you because of your unfamiliarity with the Bangladeshi market for products and services. For example, in restaurants, there is no traditional menu, but rather most kitchens are open so that you can see and choose the food being prepared. When you ask about the price of a meal, they often inflate the price considerably. That's just the way it is. So what can a visitor to Bangladesh do for a short period of time? The country offers a wide variety of temples and museums with architecture inherited from past empires and the nation's founders. But it is important to note that entry to these museums is usually priced differently, meaning that tourists often pay more than locals. In Bangladesh, it is possible to go on boat tours similar to those in Venice, where locals take tourists on the rivers in their own boats and generate income in this way. It is striking that in a country where prostitution is tolerated, alcohol consumption is forbidden by social norms. Although it is not an expensive item, and its availability is limited in the country due to an imbalance in the social issues the country emphasizes, they make alcohol not legally sold in Bangladeshi stores, making it virtually invisible. One thing you'll probably like is how inexpensive almost everything is. For example, it is possible to satisfy your hunger in a restaurant for the equivalent of $1. Lodging in hostels and hotels is equally inexpensive, with rates ranging from $6 to $40, while a one-bedroom apartment in the city center costs between $25 and $120. If you want to live outside the center, a one-bedroom apartment costs a mere $70. In the market, a kilogram of chicken breast protein, for example, costs an average of $3, and the average monthly expenditure in the market will depend on the lifestyle of each person, which can vary from $50 to $150 a month. So it can be said that life in Bangladesh is economically advantageous. Although the quality of health and hygiene is a matter of debate, one charming thing is that when the locals see a foreigner, they tend to gather around you, greet you warmly and ask you to take pictures. In Bangladesh, one really feels special and appreciated. One thing that should be mentioned is that Bangladesh consistently ranks among the 5 fastest-growing countries in the world, and in recent years, economic experts believe that the country is not destined for a path of gradual decline, but one of rapid enrichment by taking advantage of its large population. Many well-educated Bangladeshis share this view, and, when they meet tourists, express positive opinions about the country. Despite these advances, it is important to note that in Bangladesh, with a population of 169 million, many people struggle to survive. According to unofficial estimates, nearly 5 million people live on the country's streets in destitute conditions. It is an arduous task to reintegrate so many homeless into society and help them become productive citizens for the country. Even those who have a place to call home often live in deplorable conditions. They reside in makeshift housing areas that cannot even be considered slums per se. Their dwellings do not have 4 walls surrounding them and often lack sanitary facilities such as toilets or showers. These people derive their livelihood from discarded food that falls on the streets or is thrown away in markets, and often share these meager resources with their children. Those without financial resources have to resort to precarious means of transportation, such as jumping onto moving trains, often clinging to the carriages or trying to squeeze through train windows. Many parts of the country present an image reminiscent of a nation that has just emerged from armed conflict. An intriguing but unsurprising phenomenon is that a tiny group of people in Bangladesh enjoy a much more luxurious quality of life than ordinary inhabitants in general. Bangladesh is generally ranked as one of the worst countries in the world to live in, a difficult reality because high population density combined with widespread poverty makes sustainable development difficult. If you liked the video, leave your like and your comment, and don't forget to activate the little bell to always be notified of new videos. See you in the next video.